really bad.
Yes, Maharaj.
So right now it's still dry, so the heat is not so bad, but it's too early anyway. And we didn't have much rain, so I don't know how mangoes will do.
Yes, mangoes
I mean, the heat is good for the mangoes, but no water may not be good. Anyway, we'll see. There are so many irregularities nowadays everywhere.
Yes, Maharaj. Earlier it was mostly in the US and Europe, but now it has come to India also.
Yeah.
So devotees have joined, Maharaj. We will start. Hare Krishna and Pranam dear devotees. So welcome everyone for our weekly session on Bhagavad Gita with His Holiness Priti Vardhan Maharaj. So all of us, we heartily welcome Maharaj by loudly chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram.
Rama Rama Hare Hare.
So Arjava Priti Vardhan Maharaj ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. So, do we remember which verse we finished? Did we do the... we are at the end of the first chapter, but did we do the verses 37 to 43? Do you remember the destruction of family tradition?
I don't think so, Maharaj, we did this part. No, Maharaj.
So I think we are here, if I'm correct.
Namrasita Mataji?
Yeah, I think Namrasita Mataji.
I don't remember either.
You don't remember, yeah?
Yes, but we didn't do this. This
we did the fear of sinful reactions, no? It was the section before. So I think we are here.
Yes, Maharaj, that part we did. Like what were the...
Okay, so then we will be...
Yes.
Yes, so should we start then?
Yes, Maharaj.
So reading from Bhagavad Gita, and then we are doing the chapter 1 still. And then we are going through the reasons of Arjuna giving reasons for not to fight. So now we continue with the section of where Arjuna is going to argue about that there is no good to fight because it will destroy the family traditions. So in verses 37 and 38, Arjuna blames the Kauravas of being greedy and fancies himself as a man of superior knowledge. In this way, Arjuna demonstrates another characteristic of the conditioned soul. The conditioned soul is expert fault finder. He is very quick to point out defects in others and is blind to his own discrepancies. Arjuna had enough intelligence to see the greediness of the Kauravas, but failed to recognize his own illusions. Now, it's a discussion between Krishna and Arjuna, but actually we can find it happening right now in this material world among devotees. These difficulties, just how we are expert in fault finding, and that's part actually of the now parada when we are talking about devotees. And then we went through already talking about what are the four kinds of anarthas, and The most difficult anarthas are coming from the Namaparat. But we are simply not afraid of Maya enough. That's why all these way of finding faults, then it's happening. And in fact, then when we see something wrong, there is always a way how to deal with it. You cannot turn blind eye to seeing something wrong and not do anything about it. If you have the power or the influence over the person or over the situation, you have to do something about it. But then the question is, what are you going to do about it? So if we try to fix the situation, if we try to help the person to become better, to find that, okay, you did something wrong, now let me help you. I want to show you how it can be done better. So if this is the consciousness, if this is the attitude of our attitude towards the other person, it's not criticism. It's not fault finding. That's something which is very constructive, something which is good. But if we are going to see faults on others just for the sake to prove that we are better than him because we don't have these faults, that is criticism. So there is a very, very fine line. You cannot blindly accept everything what's being spoken. You have to know. You have to see how each and every aspect connects to Guru Sadhu Shastra. But you have to, at the same time, then not looking for how to criticize. If you see something, it's not according to what you think it should be. So, and that's happening now to Arjuna. He's showing us that as a conditioned living entity, then we have these faults. So Krishna and Arjuna, now Arjuna especially, like he's so kind to show us that we should be very careful. But how many people pay attention to this? In fact, there's always the feeling that I can do whatever I want. And we also discussed that this aspect. Yes, sure, you can do whatever you want. You have a free will. So based on your free will, you can do anything you want. Nobody can really stop you. That's under your control. That's the only thing which you have under control. But you don't have under control what's going to come as a reaction to your activity. Therefore, it's unwise to do something which you don't know what's going to come from it, or thinking that, oh, I'm not going to get affected. You decide to steal something, you should know that you may get caught. And if you get caught, then you go to jail. But you may think, anyway, so many times I did it, or many people didn't get caught, I'm not going to get caught. That's not under your control. So therefore, it's wise to use your intelligence and to assess the risks. I have some desire, I want to do something, but considering that if I do it, the consequences may be very severe, I don't want to do it. So this is called intelligence. So we should be using our intelligence based with the Dharma Shastra to decide what actually it is going to be that we are going to desire and do. Which desires then we are going to execute and which desires we are going to not execute. Yeah, so that's a very, very important lesson, in fact. Arjuna argues that the battle will destroy the family tradition. In his purport to verse 39, Srila Prabhupada explains, in the system of the Varnashram institution, there are many principles of religious traditions to help members of the family grow properly and attain spiritual values. The elder members are responsible for such purifying processes in the family, beginning from birth to death. But on the death of the elder members, such family traditions of purification may stop, and the remaining younger family members may develop irreligious habits and therefore lose their chance for spiritual salvation. Therefore, for no purpose should the elder members of the family be slain. So, Srila Prabhupada now explains this is a tradition, that's something which needs to be followed, and it's done through respect. So everybody in the society should have respect of the other members. But the respect should not be demanded. The respect should be commanded. So the man should respect the woman should respect the man. The brahmacharis should respect the grihastas should respect the brahmacharis. If there is a mutual respect, then it will work properly. But why there should be respect? That has to be understood. Why should one respect another one? The respect, or one of the ways, so one of the reasons why one should be respected is that he performs his duties based on dharma. So when that's being done, then naturally such person draws respect. And whatever activities he may do based on his duties, still that respect should be, it will be naturally drawn from. So we should understand that the Varnashrama is extremely important. And Srila Prabhupada, he himself, he had said that whatever he achieved before he left was 50%. But 50% still remains to be still established, and that is Varnashrama system. Without Varnashrama system, you see that people, devotees, they will be just seeing how to not follow authority, not follow rules and regulations, but it's going to be just following one's mind. And that's why we are having also so many troubles right now. There are some devotees and they are already voicing more and more the ideas that actually, what Srila Prabhupada says, not everything was right. There are some faults. Now, this is very dangerous. If we then deride then the teachings of Srila Prabhupada and we say, okay, it's faulty, what are we going to follow? Which authority are we going to follow? This is this is extremely dangerous situation. And we have to not subscribe to it. Guru, Sadhu, Shastra is something which remains untouched, and we have to learn how to understand it. Shastra has to be understood not through the eyes of the Guru and Sadhu. Exactly what Srila Prabhupada said. Now, what he said is always supported by Shastra. And then he even encouraged, just look, check. So we have to be very alert and not let that creep into our system, that sometimes devotees don't want to follow some things or want to follow it differently. So then they manufacture a system, manufacture something just out of blue, just their mind. And that will be a disaster. So we should make sure that we know that we are following the instructions of Srila Prabhupada as they are described, but we should not just read Srila Prabhupada's books. We should also understand how do we apply these instructions in our life. Otherwise, it's not going to help. They must be practically applied. Practical application of knowledge brings realization, Vigyan. And that's the goal of studying. Goal of studying is not to know, but to realize. Niridhyasana. So this is here the purpose that we actually very nicely see on Arjuna, how it's everything developing. First, he has his own ideas, how he should follow and thinking that he is right. But then Krishna steps in and he puts him in line. He will explain. And Arjuna will understand. So the same thing, we have to also go through the process of purification. First, we think I am right. What my mind is thinking about, it's right. Who can prove me wrong? And modern society, the way how people are so liberal that everybody is right. They only encourage that, but it's so dangerous. So we have to be very careful before we accept anything. Then we have to know that it's supported by Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Okay, let's continue. Lack of proper training will create havoc in the society. When the family leaders are dead, the family becomes involved in irreligion. Women lose their chastity. The result is unwanted progeny, Varna Shankara. The Varna Shankara floods the world. The performance of Vedic ritual stops. The forefathers are degraded, and all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated. Varna Shankara, or mixed population, is dangerous because it lacks material and spiritual identity. Society can be peaceful and prosperous only when its members are well acquainted with their duties. Persons who do not identify with particular varna and ashrama do not follow any set of duty and are thus unpredictable in their behavior. The science of self-realization starts from resolving one's material nature. Taking a clear stand in terms of varna and ashrama is conducive for spiritual advancement. Since Arjuna was influenced by false ego, all of his apparently good arguments were actually tainted by selfishness. He wanted to leave the battlefield because of family attachment. This is the biggest disgrace for a Kshatriya. Still, Arjuna tried to rationalize his cowardice, deceiving himself that his reluctance to fight was caused by compassion, wisdom, and detachment. He did not have the courage to face his actual motives because his self-esteem would be destroyed. Arjuna tried to avoid his social obligations as a warrior by pleading so-called higher moral principles. Thus, he wanted to establish moral principles over social obligations. But since the Lord himself was was resolved for the fight. All those apparently important considerations were without substance. Reasoning and emotions have meaning only when they are connected with the Lord. Arjuna wanted to abandon his duty and to live an idle life of a frustration. But since the soul is always active, it is not possible to stay in such superficial position for a long time. Srila Prabhupada comments in Path of Perfection. In Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna was refusing to act, and Krishna was inspiring him to engage in activity. The entire Bhagavad Gita is an inspiration to work, to engage in Krishna consciousness, to act on Krishna's behalf. Sitting still in one place is just for those who do not know how to work sensibly. As long as the child sits in one place, he does not raise havoc. Sitting still means negating nonsense. It is not positive activity. In negation, there is no life. Positive activities constitute life, and positive activity is the message of Bhagavad Gita. Spiritual life is not don't do this. Spiritual life is do this. In order to act properly, there are certain things that one must know not to do. Therefore, certain activities are forbidden. The whole Bhagavad Gita, however, is do. Krishna says, fight for me. At the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna told Krishna, I will not fight, Shri Krishna said, my dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not at all befitting a man who knows the progressive values of life. They lead not to higher planets, but to infamy. Bhagavad Gita 2.2. Krishna directly tells Arjuna that he is speaking like a non-Aryan. That is, like one who does not know the spiritual values of life. So Krishna consciousness does not mean sitting idly. Krishna himself does not sit down idly. All his pastimes are filled with activity. When we go to the spiritual world, we will see that Krishna is always engaged in dancing, eating, and enjoying. He does not sit down to meditate. Is there any account of the gopis meditating? Did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sit down and meditate? No. He was always dancing and chanting Hare Krishna. The spirit soul is naturally active. How can we sit down silently and do nothing? It is not possible. Although in illusion, Arjuna had the valor to reveal his doubts and to seek the shelter of Krishna. He was a kind and soft-hearted devotee. As such, he was fit to receive spiritual knowledge. Hare Krishna. So, anyway, now this is the end of the chapter 1. So perhaps you have some questions, or should we continue then to chapter 2?
Let me ask Maharaj. Hare Krishna. So, devotees, do we have any questions from what we read till now, last half an hour or so? So we can ask questions as we will start chapter 2.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Sanatana.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, I wanted to ask that as you mentioned about there are some devotees who follow their own mind and do some things which are not in scripture. Can you just give me some examples? Like what kind of things they do?
Well, there are many examples. I don't want to really necessarily use names, but so some devotees, they may decide like that, like we mentioned, that Srila Prabhupada was not always right. There are some things which they are questionable, or there are some tradition, or Srila Prabhupada didn't know, and therefore that we should not take everything what Srila Prabhupada said as an absolute. So now, where is this coming from? This is in the mind that we just come to it, and we are not trying to even properly find it in the Shastra how it's supposed to be, how to support. We are looking for how to reject. For example, there are some devotees who are claiming that the Vedic culture, which we see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's preaching, right? Srila Prabhupada is preaching. So like an example that how the gopis covered their faces with the sari. So now we hear that some devotees claim this is coming from Muslims. So they are trying to prove that the Vedic culture as being followed in Braj actually developed from Islam. Where is this coming from? Now, there are some academicians who try to prove that actually, there was no culture before. The culture comes with the Mughals, comes with the British, and that was it. There was nothing before. Everybody else before was just some like a prehistoric animal. So now, to prove that, then you have to still see, because there is some culture before. So yeah, everything is because of the Muslims. They spread the culture. So they try to prove based on the atheistic research that the Vedic culture comes from Muslim culture. There is no substance to it, but devotees are preaching it. So what would you do? I mean, this is nothing to be. There's no support for it, through Guru, Sadhu, or Shastra. But there are devotees who are buying into it. They like it because it breaks the authority, and that means I don't have to follow any authority. I can do whatever I want. So now that we see the gopis, they cover themselves, right? But you have some ladies, okay, they don't want to, so they will use that, say, oh no, actually this is Muslim tradition. We should not cover ourselves. And and here you go. Something creeps in, and you may find justification for things how you want to do it rather than how it should be done. But no, it doesn't have to be done according to the Shastra, because Shastra is also wrong. Shastra is it's developed from Muslims. So if you accept that, then you lost your authority, and then anybody will do anything, whatever they want. Nobody will listen. Nobody will try to follow how things should be done, because, I mean, why should I listen? So this is the great danger which is awaiting. It's a time bomb. Our leaders, they should step in and they should explain till it's time. But it's not really happening. So is that, I mean, we don't have to get really much into many more details, but is it enough as an example?
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
So in other words, before we act, before we do something, we should make sure that we are in line with Guru Sadhu Shastra. That's all. Not to study some other Shastra thinking that that Shastra is better than Srila Prabhupada's books. It's very dangerous. That we can start studying maybe the books of Bhaktivinoda Thakur instead of Srila Prabhupada's books. Or why that? I mean, maybe just we should start study Srila Vishwan Chakravarti Thakur only, thinking that he's better than Srila Prabhupada. Why actually that? Then only Chaitanya Mahaprabhu we can study. Or why that? No, and then you can go on, and you will be completely lost because you lost your authority. So we have to very seriously preserve the authority of Srila Prabhupada teachings, and we have to constantly look for ways how we can apply them in life to understand what is Srila Prabhupada giving us, and not try to dispute that what Srila Prabhupada gives. Oh, somebody says something else, somebody says something else, so I like this one better, so I will not follow what Srila Prabhupada says. That's extremely dangerous. And that we sometimes may get confused because we may be thinking that one Acharya says one thing and other Acharya may say something opposite, something different. That's our ignorance, that we don't understand that they are saying the same thing, but they are saying it now with different angle. So the principle remains, the detail changes according to time, place, circumstance. Fine. But we cannot ever change the principle. But if we change the principle for detail and start changing principles anytime, then we are in big trouble. And unfortunately, it's happening. So we should be very careful, very cautious, and ourselves then to study Srila Prabhupada's books and to be able to realize them. Is that all right?
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. So do we have any other question from what we have read? Okay, Maharaj, no more questions from what we read, chapter 1.
So what should we do? Continue then chapter 2?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay. So, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2. Contents of the Gita summarized. Arjuna submits to Lord Krishna as his disciple, and Krishna begins his teachings to Arjuna by explaining the fundamental distinction between the temporary material body and the eternal spirit soul. The Lord explains the process of transmigration, the nature of selfless service to the Supreme Lord, and the characteristics of the self-realized soul. Verses 1 to 9. Arjuna surrenders to Krishna and begs for guidance. Verses 10 to 30. Krishna's instructions of the immutable spirit soul. Verses 31 to 37. Krishna urges Arjuna to perform his Kshatriya duty, Karma Kanda. Verses 38 to 53. Better than Karma Kanda is Naishkarmya, Buddhi Yoga, action without fruitive results. Verses 54 to 72. By practicing Naishkarmya, one develops the qualities of Sthita Pragya, a person fixed in divine consciousness. So verses 1 to 9, Arjuna surrenders to Krishna and begs for guidance. So verse 1. Dhritarashtra was glad to hear that Arjuna was renouncing his kingdom. The word Madhusudana, however, indicates that Krishna, being possessed of sweetness, Madhu, will destroy Sudana, the lamentation of Arjuna. Commenting on Arjuna's so-called compassion, Srila Prabhupada writes, no one knows where compassion should be applied. Compassion for dress of a drowning man is senseless. A man fallen in the ocean of nations cannot be saved simply by rescuing his own outward dress, the gross material body. One who does not know this and laments for the outward dress is called a Shudra, or one who laments unnecessarily. Arjuna was a Kshatriya, and this conduct was not expected from him. Verses 2 to 3. Lord Krishna does not approve the professed compassion of Arjuna. Arjuna should give up such false magnanimity and act under the guidance of Krishna. In verse 2, the Lord says that if Arjuna leaves the battlefield, he will achieve neither liberation, nor heaven, nor happiness on earth. In the same verse, Krishna is called Bhagavan. Srila Prabhupada explains that the Supreme Personality who possesses all riches, all strength, all fame, all beauty, all knowledge, and all renunciation is called Bhagavan. Bhagavan Shri Krishna is the highest truth. Krishna and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are identical. Therefore, Lord Krishna is referred to as Bhagavan throughout the Gita. Bhagavan is the ultimate in the absolute truth. Absolute truth is realized in three phases of understanding, namely Brahman, the impersonal all-pervasive spirit, Paramatma, or the localized aspect of the Supreme within the heart of all living entities, and Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, in the Srimad Bhagavatam. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 1 to 11, this conception of the absolute truth is explained thus. The absolute truth is realized in three phases of understanding by the knower of the absolute truth, and all of them are identical. Such phases of the absolute truth are expressed as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. These three divine aspects can be explained by the example of the sun, which also has three different aspects, namely the sunshine, the sun's surface, and the sun's planet itself. One who studies the sunshine only is the preliminary student. One who understands the sun's surface is farther advanced. And one who knows, one who can enter into the sun planet is the highest. Bhagavad Gita 2.2, purport. Okay. In the verse 3, Krishna dismisses Arjuna's seemingly learned arguments as cowardice. According to Sri Balavidya Bhushan, Arjuna argues back. This is not cowardice in the form of lack of courage, but rather a judgment arising through consideration of proper action towards those worthy of worship, like Bhishma, and an act of compassion towards cousins, such as Duryodhana, who will die by the blow of my weapons. The Lord answers, no, this is not correct judgment, nor compassion, but the transitory kshudram, weakness of heart. Therefore, give up that weakness and prepare to fight. Utishta. O afflictor of the enemy, Parantapa, do not become the laughing stock of the enemy. So now we see that Arjuna, he is really trying to find reasons for his arguments, but Krishna is already letting him know that how foolish he is. So that's the compassion. That's the compassion of the Guru, which he has, that he is giving us all the proper understanding. He is giving us the shiksha. Now, we should not give up on that, and we should try to, if we don't understand what the shiksha actually is, then we should endeavor throughout our life to realize what the shiksha is and how we can apply it. That's the only proper way how we should deal with the situation. So Krishna will instruct Arjuna. Arjuna will realize it. So now we should also do the same. We should try to realize then what Gita is and how is the conclusions of Gita going to apply in our life. So that should be our meditation. Okay, verses 4 to 9. Arjuna gives more arguments, but finally he realizes his bewildered condition and surrenders to Krishna as his disciple. This is an important moment because it signifies that even a great person like Arjuna cannot solve the problems of life without the help of the spiritual master. The result of Arjuna's seemingly learned arguments was indecision and confusion only. Mundane knowledge and material opulence cannot drive away ignorance and lamentation. With his surrender, Arjuna establishes the proper method of understanding the Bhagavad Gita in the purport of 2.7. Srila Prabhupada writes, Krishna is therefore the original spiritual master of the science of Bhagavad Gita, and Arjuna is the first disciple for understanding the Gita. How Arjuna understands the Bhagavad Gita is stated in the Gita itself. And yet foolish mundane scholars explain that one need not submit to Krishna as a person, but to the unborn within Krishna. Arjuna understood that the reason for his bewilderment was due to family attachment. The family members are natural objects of affection. However, one should not be overly attached to them because this will turn him into a kripana, miser. The kripana is convinced that he is able to protect his family and that his family will in return protect him. This false assumption makes his life miserable and full of anxieties. On the other hand, a Brahmana who knows Krishna as the ultimate protector and well-wisher achieved peace. Bhagavad Gita 5.29. So we finished the first section, verses 1 to 9. So I'll stop here. So I don't know, if there is some question, then we can just maybe have some quick question. If there is something.
Devotees, do we have any questions from the first 9 verses we have read from Bhagavad Gita? Everybody's understood everything.
Anyway, I mean, we have many things to contemplate on.
Yes.
So if there are some questions, even like later or next week or something like that, then you can always ask. It is important to try to contemplate, mananam, on what's being spoken and ultimately apply it. So it may take some time, but we should be endeavoring for it.
Thank you, Maharaj. So we will contemplate on what we read first and this concise manner which we are reading. And these are, I think, probably as we get into chapter 2 middle, and then later, then more portion from Maharaj. And but our problem remains, Maharaj, that we know so much, but we are unable to apply very little. That is our challenge. My challenge.
Yeah, we should not endeavor too much for Gyan. We should rather be looking for Vigyan. So no need to study too much, but rather whatever we do study, then we should be trying to apply it.
Yes. And Maharaj, please give us some blessings we are taking Yatra to Vrindavan this weekend, Maharaj. So
Oh, very nice.
almost wherever Asim Putra Prabhu and Vishwara Prabhu and Amanitai Prabhu, they are preaching. So we're taking all of them, they are new devotees, almost 80 of us, Maharaj. Are with.
Wow.
So, yes, Maharaj.
So yeah, have a successful yatra. Try to contemplate, try to take full advantage of being in Braj. If you get some time, go a little out of like a Vrindavan town. Visit some places, some nice villages. Because in the villages you actually see the Vrindavan as described by the acharyas. In the town, it's a bit different still. You may see dualities. You may see it as people misbehaving, dirty. So try to endeavor to maybe venture out a little bit, see the villagers.
Yes, Maharaj. So what we're doing, Maharaj, we are taking them to Krishna Balram. We're going to Radha Madan Mohan first because it's already 42, 43 there also, Maharaj.
Mm-hmm.
We plan to go to Radha Madan Mohan, do some Kirtan there, and take them for boat ride, then bring them to Krishna Balram temple and take darshan by the time at 12. Then evening we have set up a session with Devi Shakti Mataji. So she will
Very
speak
nice.
about Prabhupada in Vrindavan and Krishna Balram
Mhm.
temple, how it came up, what challenges like that. Then next day, morning, Maharaj, after attending Mangal Aarti and Darshan Aarti and Guru Puja, then we plan to go to Radha, and then we'll go to Ashishwa Mahadev, have a
Mhm,
snan
mhm.
at Slower, and finally Vrindakon, and have a sadhan there, lunch sadhan. So this is Ekadashi also that day. So, and then come back to reach Gurgaon back by 7 or 7. This is after.
Okay. Very nice. So yeah, everything should go very nicely, smoothly. When you go to the holy places, then look for the association of the Vaishnavas, association of the Brijbasis, and try to do some seva, whatever you can. Service can be just attending arati. No, that's a seva. Visiting the places of the acharyas, hearing from the Vaishnavas, that's all seva. So try to then do it very diligently, properly. That will be the best.
Thank you, Maharaj. We'll try, Maharaj, to do some seva.
Very nice.
Whenever the opportunity comes, and also behave ourselves also, and be mindful of where we are. Sometimes we just take it easy. We are just tired at first and just hop on to Vrindavan. But going to Vrindavan is, or accessing at least Vrindavan is not easy. So we are trying, Maharaj, to be from senior devotees and have some Katha Kirtan, rather than
Very nice.
places, like this. So, thank you, Maharaj.
Very good. Okay.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna. So, devotees, so we heartily thank Maharaj for giving us his regular association and so much guidance, practical guidance to us. So we thank Maharaj by loudly chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Priti, Vardhan, Maharaj.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So thank you everyone for joining. So I request all of you, please pray कि हमारी वृंदावन यात्रा ठीक रहे और जैसे महाराज ने बताया कि we get some opportunity, then we avail that opportunity to do service, and plenty of service are available because we are taking. You can't hear me? Asim Prabhu, you can't hear me?
Prabhu, your voice is low.
मेरा तो volume full है.
नहीं, आपका वॉल्यूम फुल है, but your voice to us is low.
Why? I don't know. So
I think the mic is not connected.
Mic is not connected. The mic is जाता है मेरा वीडियो गेम पे. So
वो भागवतम में प्रभु जी करना पड़ेगा.
भागवतम में तो दे देता है कृपा